Ilara stared at the mountain of paper on her desk. The math problems looked like angry spiders, and the history dates were just dusty ghosts of people long gone. "Why do I have to do this?" she sighed, dropping her head onto her crossed arms. The golden afternoon sun was shining outside her window, calling her to the park, but the unfinished homework felt like a heavy anchor holding her back. Suddenly, a tiny plop echoed from her inkwell. A small, bouncy creature made of shimmering, midnight blue ink hopped onto her notebook. He had 2 large, curious eyes and a tail that ended in a sharp point like a fountain pen. "I'm Scribble," the creature squeaked, leaving a trail of tiny blue footprints across her math homework. Ilara sat up straight, her eyes wide with surprise. Scribble hopped closer and grabbed Ilara's thumb with a soft, inky hand. "Homework isn't a chore, Ilara," he whispered in a voice that sounded like rustling paper. "It's a set of blueprints. Every sum you solve and every fact you learn builds a piece of a world only you can see. Want to visit?" Before she could answer, the little creature pulled her toward the open history book. Whiz! The room blurred, and Ilara found herself standing in a vast, golden desert. Huge stone pyramids rose from the shifting sands under a purple sky. Scribble hopped onto her shoulder, pointing toward a massive structure nearby. "This is the land of yesterday," he explained. "But look, the pyramids are unfinished. They need the dates of the ancient kings to stay standing." Ilara walked toward a crumbling wall where a stone block hovered in the air, vibrating. She remembered a date she had read just minutes ago in her textbook, 1323 BC. As she whispered the numbers aloud, the block slid perfectly into place with a satisfying thud, glowing with a warm golden light. She realized that knowing the story of the past gave her the power to rebuild it. "Next stop, the Logic Ravine," Scribble shouted, leaping into the air. They tumbled through a swirl of floating numbers and landed at the edge of a deep canyon. On the far side was a lush, beautiful garden, but between them was nothing but a terrifying drop. "We need a bridge," Scribble said, pointing to a series of glowing equations floating in the mist. The central equation was 12 multiplied by 8. Ilara's brow furrowed as she focused. She had always hated multiplication, but now it felt like a puzzle that mattered. She calculated the numbers in her head, feeling the logic click together. 96, she yelled. Instantly, 96 glowing planks of wood flew together, forming a sturdy, shimmering bridge. After crossing the bridge, they entered the garden where a large, fluffy owl, wearing silver-rimmed spectacles, perched on a tree with leaves made of alphabet letters. "I am Professor Pip," the owl hooted softly. Ilara looked up in awe. "You see, Ilara," the owl continued, "your mind is a garden. Homework is just the water and the seeds. Without it, the garden stays empty. With it, you can grow anything you imagine." Professor Pip reached into his soft feathers and pulled out a shimmering, golden pen. He held it out to Ilara with his beak. "Take this," he hooted. "It's a reminder that every word you write and every problem you solve makes you the architect of your own future. You aren't just doing work. You are creating the person you will become." Blink. Ilara was back at her wooden desk. Scribble was gone, and there was only a tiny, harmless ink smudge on her thumb. She picked up her ordinary pen, but it felt different now, lighter, almost as if it were humming. She smiled at her math problems. They weren't spiders anymore. They were the bricks for her next bridge. She leaned forward and began to write.